Climate change.
Climate change. We're a coal-producing state.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
know that. We get a lot of our electricity from coal, and as you have pointed out, the climate change bill that's in Congress would penalize Alabama.
I think it would.
And you have suggested that the healthcare legislation should take precedence. But what if it doesn't? What if the climate change bill, in some form close to what it is now, does pass? We're going to be penalized. What could the governor, what would you as governor do to try to mitigate the pain in Alabama?
Well, I would do, you may have noticed I tend to answer in twos and threes, as I'm about to say. I would do two things. The first thing is, let's say hypothetically that you're right, and that the Waxman-Markey bill passes, and something like it passes the Senate, and something like it's signed into law by the president. Unlikely today that series of events happens, but let's say it does. By early 2011, we will have some opportunity to see if it's working in an equitable way. If for some reason it's not working in an equitable way, as governor, I would go to Washington, D.C. and say, here's an example of an inequity in the way this legislation is working. I want to see if, working with other governors from similarly situated states, we can find some ways to cushion the impact on our states. And that's a role a governor can play. People forget a governor's role is not just limited to the four corners of your state. You have an opportunity to go to Washington to say, look, I can tell you on the ground that this policy is not working well. I will play that kind of role. I will be active within the DGA and active within the National Governors Association when I think it's in Alabama's interest to do so. So that's going to be the first thing. If a cap-and-trade regime is not working in the way that's in Alabama's interest, what can I as governor do to push for national policies that will mitigate for states like Alabama? Second of all, my other obligation would be to make sure Alabama is doing its part to comply with the law and to make sure Alabama is doing its part to help create a clean energy future. We are going to, whether it's this cap-and-trade regime or something else, we are going to get, in my opinion, some kind of legislation in the next several years, or some kind of administrative dictate from the EPA in the next several years that we've got to have a dramatic reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. And I think that's a good thing. It's got to figure out how to do it. So I want Alabama to be a leader in reducing greenhouse gas emissions. I want us to be a leader in carving out alternative energy as a new economic source in our state. I want Alabama to be a leader in clean jobs and in green jobs, frankly. And one of the things I want to do is to emulate the states that have set up a cabinet-level office to work on alternative energy. I want to have a cabinet-level officer working on expanding our alternative energy profile so it helps us meet new federal standards in a way that's in Alabama's best interest.
Very good.
But to say one more thing about the legislation in Washington, I think that the opposition to cap and trade, there are two camps. There's the one camp that says we shouldn't do anything at all. Now, that's frankly some members of the Alabama delegation, and a couple of senators come to mind. I'm not in that camp. We do have to do something. Environmentally, morally, economically, we have to do something. But I think that during a time of recession, when we've had the sharpest drop in GDP in 2 quarters since 1957 and the second sharpest drop since the 1930s, I think it's the wrong time to implement a regime that can have all kinds of untoward consequences and unexpected consequences.
We've got all that coal, though. How are we ever going to use it in a clean way?
We've got to do massive research. It's an oxymoron to some people today, clean coal, but I am convinced that the technology is there if we make the kind of commitment as a country toward carbon sequestration. I don't profess to be enough of a scientist or engineer to explain this cogently, so I won't even try. But there are things that can be done on the technological front to make it easier for a coal-reliant state to use coal and still contribute to carbon reductions. Is it feasible sitting here right now, June 1st, 2009? Candidly, it's not. But can it be over a period of time? I think it can be. And that's how I want to engage the whole question about energy. I want to turn to a question about America's capacity to invent and America's capacity to create. How do we perfect our current technology to give us a stronger environment and commensurately a stronger job base? I think it's possible to do that, and the president believes that. So I don't join the camp of those who think that we should do nothing, and I absolutely don't join the camp of people who deny the science in this area. You know, you've done some good postings on this. There's a group of people who literally are practicing flat earth politics when it comes to the science around climate change. You know, the bottom line is every now and then the answer is no. Every now and then there is an objective way to verify facts and to sort out facts here. There's no question that human activity and manufacturing is contributing to climate change. Anybody doesn't think that's rejecting a massive body of work that's out there.